Hi, and welcome to Mentoring Me, Morehouse School of Medicine Excellence. I'm your host, Gina Towns Thompson, and I am here today with someone who is incredible. She is the Senior Associate Dean of Clinical and Translational Research, and she is the PI on the National Research Mentoring Network grant at Morehouse School of Medicine. Please welcome Dr. Elizabeth Ofili.
Thank you so much for having me, Gina.
It is my pleasure, and thanks so much for being with us today, Dr. Ofili. You are everywhere all the time. Tell me a little bit about mentoring on the national scene, because you're very involved with that. You are, of course, the principal investigator on that grant for us, so tell me about it.
Thank you, and glad to bring some information on this. So the National Research Mentoring Network, called NRMN for short, is an initiative that came out of NIH, which is the National Institutes of Health. The reason behind that is because they discovered that minority scientists, which are mostly blacks or African Americans, were not having the same level of success when they go in to try to submit NIH funding. And there was a number of reasons behind that. Some they find out was some bias involved, but also some was related to lack of mentoring. And these are really what's considered gold standard funding from NIH, which is what launches people's careers, specifically what we call R01 funding. So the director of NIH launched this program that is called the Diversity Program Consortium. And this was after a number of scientists got together and advised him. And one of the programs underneath that is the National Research Mentoring Network, designed specifically to address the issue of the gap in mentorship for underrepresented scientists.
Right, well, and it makes sense. I mean, I guess science is just coming along in that path because people have mentors and they've been mentored forever, whether it was horseshoes or basketball or whatever throughout history and time. And so tell me about the grant.
Right. So this grant specifically at Morehouse School of Medicine is one of 5. So I'm one of 5 principal investigators across different institutions. And the specific grant at Morehouse is really designed to help us do outreach to other minority-serving institutions, such as what we call the research centers at minority institutions. So these are historically black colleges and universities, as well as Hispanic surveying, Native American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander. These institutions actually attract underrepresented scientists and have them in training as graduate students. They also attract faculty that are particularly interested in working with these underrepresented groups. So the rationale for Morehouse School of Medicine, again, we did compete to have this funding, and we're competitively funded. We have a team here at Morehouse that it really includes a number of individuals that have worked in this mentoring space for a long time. We have Dr. Jonathan Stiles, we have from Morehouse, Adriana Baez from University of Puerto Rico, and then we have Winston Thompson here at Morehouse School of Medicine, Priscilla Pimu. We have Japari Johnson, who's a social scientist that deals with mentoring. And then we have Kim Lawson and Meldra Hall. So it's a small team, but really a lot of what we were trying to do was test out unique models that work for our type of institutions.
Mm-hmm. So you said something, and I took a note. Why is it important for minority-serving institutions to have a solid mentoring network?
Very crucial. So what you're getting at there is, it turns out research has shown that really minority scientists or those underrepresented at this point actually care about health equity. And they will address problems that actually affect those communities. So what NIH is trying to do is say, we want to get the best and the brightest. This is not about whether you're a minority or not, but if you're asking the right questions that would get us to the next level in terms of our discovery, well, we want you to be successful. And a part of that getting to that success is making sure you have the mentoring you need regardless of your institutional setting.
So from Morehouse School of Medicine's perspective, because you are the person that's the face for Morehouse School of Medicine, you're interfacing with, I suppose, undergraduate institutions, the other medical schools. Tell me how you go about forming those relationships, and what's it like? What is it that is the common thread, the common theme that allows us to be the leader in that, if you want to say that?
So it's a very good question. We obviously came about it based on some of the successes we've had locally at Morehouse. You know, you've heard about the Mentoring Academy. So we took some of those lessons and we put it together in a model that is called the grant writing and coaching. And again, that grant writing and coaching is being done at other institutions. But the difference with what we pioneered at Morehouse is we put it in a way where we said we recognize that these investigators have a bunch of challenges. For example, protected time. So when you talk to an institution who has a lot of undergraduate teaching load and yet they're trying to mentor scientists, one of the precious things is time. And so we bring them in what we call a health equity collaboratory space. And in that space, we basically go out and we advertise and say, we want to run a coaching program, but you'll be in a space where you actually get to interact amongst yourself, with coaches, and then they follow you for 4 to 6 months. So you're in that space being accountable. And amazingly, I mean, when we started this, of course, we didn't know what it was going to show, but we found out something very fascinating, that those individuals who participated in that space were like 6 to 7 times more likely to submit their grant application on time. And we were able to communicate, as you mentioned, how do we go about that? Basically share with our institutions that this resource is available. And then when they come and participate, we show them the metrics of success in terms of submitting applications. And you know, we're just starting, we're obviously in our 3rd year of getting this done, so we're looking forward to continuing to grow that pipeline.
Right, so what I hear you saying is that, and it's like in anything else, when you feel like you have a support network, you feel like you can reach the stars.
You hit the nail on the head. It actually turns out that when people, there's a deficit in terms of social capital, the network that surrounds an investigator. So it's not just about themselves and even about who's in their institution. Because when they go to submit that grant application, the reviewers are going to look at them and say, who is on here that we know? When they go to submit a manuscript, these are all the currencies that it takes a scientist to be successful. You have to publish, and then you have to submit grants. Well, that world out there that's examining this, they're looking for people they know. So when you're outside of that network, it disadvantages you significantly. So a good part of what we're doing is trying to teach people, when you go to meetings, how do you grow your network? How do you make sure they know about your work? So when it comes in front of them, they're not going to go, well, who's this person? We don't know who they are to publish. Well, that's how people, you know, grow in terms of their career. They have to develop within a network.
And so I had a great conversation with Dr. Harris Hooker about how that works internally at Morehouse School of Medicine. And so what I see is that the strength, it starts here.
Yes.
The strength starts here, and then once we go outside, we can be that leader. Yes. But you know what I was thinking about as you were talking, because you are obviously very seasoned. You basically have been a leader in this space. Tell me about your own mentoring and what did it mean to you with the people that mentored you along the way?
Yes, so thank you so much for that. And again, I don't claim this just for myself. I think that a lot of the times we come to these positions and we're surrounded by a team of individuals. And the reason we've been successful here, as you say, is because we have a team that has done this before. And we certainly believe, and this is really Morehouse's motto, as you know, that we're leading the creation and advancement of health equity. So this is a classic because we came to this as one of 5 institutions, but we are working specifically with institutions like ourselves that we know have these unmet needs. And so bringing this out there, and we're showing about 80% of individuals that have participated with us are from these types of institutions. So I wanted to make sure I clarified that. So coming to myself, so so I trained as a cardiologist, and of course, people who are in that space, majority are white men. There were not really a lot of women along the way. Now, increasingly, we're having more women. And when you talk about Black women, cardiologists, and in research, those are very few. So I really learned to adapt to really understanding that you can get mentored by people from across culture, from across gender, and that is indeed one of the things that the Mentoring Network looks at. It say, what are some of the things we ought to train mentors in? Because we also work with people who want to be mentors or who are mentors to say, understand that when you're mentoring across culture, across race, across gender, there are some competencies that you need. You need to recognize some of those blind spots. And so it's not just about, oh, I'm going to mentor this person just because I am. There are things that you need to learn from them about how they ought to be mentored, what's important to them, and so on. And so I've learned that in my own journey as a clinician scientist, and I try to obviously replicate that.
Okay, that's awesome. I'm pretty much enamored by the progress that we've made, and I see why it is so vitally important. And these are the things that really do make Morehouse School of Medicine excellent. Dr. Ofili, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for being with us as well, and we look forward to seeing you the next time on Mentoring Me, Morehouse School of Medicine Excellence.